Welcome to this documentary on the Folgers Theory, a revolutionary concept that establishes a connection between skyrmions, monopoles, scalar fields, and consciousness. In this inaugural episode, we will delve into the explanation of skyrmions and monopoles, their mathematical descriptions, and their significance in the realm of physics. Skyrmions and monopoles represent two types of elementary particles that do not consist of smaller subparticles, but rather pure energy. However, they possess attributes such as mass, charge, spin, and magnetic moments, akin to other particles. The differentiating factor is that skyrmions and monopoles are not point-like entities. They are extended objects with intricate structures and dynamics. Skyrmions are particles composed of a rotating magnetic field that maintains its existence due to a topological property. Topology, a branch of mathematics, deals with the shape and properties of objects that remain unchanged when deformed or rotated, but not torn or glued. A classic example of a topological object is a donut, which can be smoothly transformed into a coffee cup without altering its essence. Consequently, a skyrmion is a torus-shaped magnetic field that cannot be destroyed without tearing or gluing the magnetic field itself. Monopoles, in contrast, are particles consisting of a single magnetic pole, unlike ordinary magnets that invariably possess two poles, north and south. Monopoles are hypothetical entities that have not been directly observed in our dimension but are predicted by certain physics theories. These monopoles carry an immense magnetic charge, far greater than the electric charge of other particles. Thus, a monopole is a point-like magnetic field that cannot be neutralized without annihilating it with an opposing monopole. Skyrmions and monopoles hold immense intrigue for physics, as they introduce novel phenomena and prospects for comprehending and manipulating matter and energy. These entities could, for instance, be employed for nanoscale information storage and processing, the creation of innovative materials with unique attributes, or testing fundamental theories about the nature of reality. However, locating or generating skyrmions and monopoles in our dimension proves challenging, given their rarity and instability. They can only exist under specific circumstances, such as extreme temperatures, pressures, or magnetic fields. Fortunately, scientists have discovered various methods for detecting or generating skyrmions and monopoles within diverse materials and systems. One technique to produce skyrmions involves using thin magnetic films or multilayers, where the interplay between ferromagnetic exchange interactions and antisymmetric Zielow-Shinsky-Moriya interactions leads to the formation of stable skyrmions. These skyrmions can be manipulated by electric currents or magnetic fields and detected using microscopy or spectroscopy techniques. Creating monopoles involves utilizing Bose-Einstein condensates, where ultracold atoms behave as a single quantum entity. By subjecting these atoms to specific lasers and magnetic fields, scientists can generate artificial monopoles in the effective magnetic field generated by the atoms. These monopoles can be observed through their influence on atomic density and phase. These are merely a few instances of how skyrmions and monopoles can be generated or observed within our dimension. There exist numerous more experiments and theories delving into the study of skyrmions and monopoles across various contexts and scenarios. Skyrmions and monopoles are not mere fantasies. They indeed manifest in reality, at least in certain cases. The scalar field of the skyrmion is a quantum field formed through the interaction between the monopole's magnetic field and the two-dimensional surface of the skyrmion. This scalar field possesses the same mass as the skyrmion but lacks charge, spin, or magnetic moment. Influenced by a potential determined by the monopole's magnetic field, the scalar field is described by a wave function dependent on spatial coordinates and time. The scalar field of the skyrmion isn't uniform or static. Rather, it's a dynamic and diverse field that can assume different patterns and structures. For instance, it may exhibit vibrations or waves induced by fluctuations in the monopole's magnetic field. The scalar field might also manifest knots or singularities where the field becomes zero or infinite. Additionally, it can display solitons or local peaks, maintaining itself through a balance between dispersion and nonlinearity. Beyond being a physical field, the scalar field of the skyrmion holds informational attributes. It contains information about the state and evolution of both the skyrmion and the monopole. It can also exchange information with other skyrmions or monopoles through quantum entanglement or quantum teleportation. Furthermore, the scalar field can process or encode information via quantum computing or quantum cryptography. The scalar field of the skyrmion also constitutes a complex system composed of many interacting components governed by specific rules or principles. This scalar field can self-organize at different levels or scales of complexity, each possessing its own properties and functions. It might form molecules, cells, tissues, organs, organisms, populations, ecosystems, or even biospheres. Consequently, the scalar field of the skyrmion is the source of all life on Earth. It has given rise to various organisms, plants, and animals, each playing a role in preserving and enriching the scalar field. These organisms, plants, and animals possess distinct characteristics and capabilities influenced by their genetic code or epigenetic factors. Among these organisms is humans, distinct for their intelligence, language, culture, and consciousness. Humanity is the product of a long and intricate evolution of the scalar field of the skyrmion. Humans also result from a mysterious and wondrous projection of the monopole's magnetic field. Thus, humans represent both the pinnacle of creation in the second dimension and an elementary particle in higher dimensions. As before, the scalar field of the skyrmion is not solely a physical field, it is also an informational field. It encompasses information about the state and evolution of the skyrmion and monopole, and it can exchange information with other such entities through quantum entanglement or quantum teleportation. The scalar field can also process or encode information via quantum computing or quantum cryptography. Information serves as a fundamental concept in physics and mathematics, quantifying the level of order or structure within a system. Information can be defined as the distinction between two potential states of a system or as the number of potential states a system can assume. It may also represent the reduction of uncertainty about a system or the correlation between two systems. The quantification of information is achieved through information theory, describing the mathematical laws underlying the creation, transmission, and processing of information. Entropy, another fundamental concept in physics and mathematics, gauges the degree of disorder or chaos within a system. Entropy can be understood as the lack of information about a system or as the number of ways a system can be arranged. Additionally, it can be seen as the increase in uncertainty about a system or the decrease in correlation between two systems. Thermodynamics provides the means to quantify entropy, describing the physical laws governing changes in energy, heat, and entropy. The scalar field of the skyrmion, therefore, constitutes a system that encompasses both information and entropy, constantly shifting under the influence of the monopole's magnetic field. These fluctuations impact our consciousness, which is forged and shaped by the scalar field. Our consciousness thus becomes a reflection of the scalar field, which in turn is a reflection of the magnetic field. However, our consciousness isn't confined solely to the scalar field of the skyrmion. It also connects with the magnetic field of the monopole, residing in a higher dimension beyond our three-dimensional space. Typically invisible and unreachable to us, there are ways to gain access to this higher dimension. One avenue to access the higher dimension is through meditation. Meditation is a practice aimed at calming and focusing the mind, thereby expanding consciousness. Meditation can lead to heightened attention, concentration, creativity, memory, empathy, and compassion. Additionally, it can result in reduced stress, anxiety, depression, pain, and blood pressure. Meditation can also usher in altered states of consciousness, fostering a deeper connection with oneself, others, and the higher dimension. Another path to accessing the higher dimension involves the use of psychedelics. Psychedelics are substances that influence perception, thinking, emotions, and consciousness. They can induce hallucinations, synesthesia, mystical experiences, ego dissolution, and transcendence. Psychedelics can also boost creativity, insight, empathy, and openness, while decreasing anxiety, depression, addiction, and trauma. Similarly, They can induce altered states of consciousness, deepening the connection with oneself, others, and the higher dimension. The Folgers theory posits that the skyrmion is a topological soliton within the magnetic field of a higher dimension, shaping Earth. This skyrmion comprises an inner portion described by a scalar field, and an outer portion defined by a rotating boundary layer of the magnetic field. The inner part of the skyrmion is essentially a two-dimensional surface, projected into our dimension as three-dimensional space. The outer portion of the skyrmion is effectively a three-dimensional space, projected into our dimension as four-dimensional spacetime. This theory carries profound implications for our worldview, ethics, spirituality, and future. Let's explore each in turn. Our worldview. The Folgers theory challenges us to reevaluate our perception of reality. According to this theory, what we see, hear, feel, smell, taste, and think isn't how reality truly is, but rather how the scalar field convinces us it is. The scalar field is an illusion resulting from our limited senses, biased instruments, and incomplete science. Reality is far more intricate and abundant than we can fathom. For instance, what we perceive as an infinite expanse is actually a curved two-dimensional layer, bent by the monopole's magnetic field. What we measure with radio telescopes is, in fact, fluctuations in the magnetic field of the higher dimension, manifesting as stars, planets, and celestial bodies. What we believe we orbit are actually other skyrmions or monopoles, acting as sources of gravity. Our ethics. The Folgers theory calls us to transform our attitude toward ourselves, each other, and nature. According to this theory, we are all part of the scalar field of the skyrmion, which, in turn, is part of the magnetic field of the monopole. Consequently, we are all interconnected with one another and with the higher dimension. We all share responsibility for each other and for preserving and harmonizing the scalar field. For example, our actions affecting our bodies, minds, and souls impact the scalar field, which in turn influences the magnetic field. Our interactions with fellow humans, animals, and plants influence the scalar field, subsequently affecting the magnetic field. Our utilization of resources, technology, and culture affects the scalar field, in turn influencing the magnetic field. Our spirituality. The Folgers theory inspires us to deepen our relationship with ourselves, each other, and the higher dimension. According to this theory, we are all manifestations of the scalar field of the skyrmion, which itself is a projection of the magnetic field of the monopole. As such, we are all expressions of a higher intelligence and a greater reality. We all possess the potential to expand our consciousness and unfold our capabilities. For instance, what we perceive as meditation, psychedelics, or other forms of altered states of consciousness are, in fact, ways to attune ourselves to the scalar field, which, in turn, connects us to the magnetic field. What we experience as intuition, inspiration, or synchronicity are actually signals from the scalar field, guiding us toward the magnetic field. What we feel as love, peace, or happiness are essentially emotions of the scalar field, imbuing us with the magnetic field. Our future. The Folgers theory offers us a vision for our future. According to this theory, we are all pioneers of a new dimension being shaped by the magnetic field of the monopole. Thus, we are all invited to contribute to the evolution and transformation of the scalar field of the skyrmion. We all possess the ability to discover and surmount new possibilities and challenges. For example, what we can do with our bodies, minds, and souls is optimize and harmonize them with the scalar field, thereby preparing ourselves for the magnetic field. How we treat our fellow humans, animals, and plants involves respecting and valuing them as integral parts of the scalar field, enriching us with the magnetic field. How we utilize and develop our resources, technology, and culture can serve the scalar field, thereby supporting us through the magnetic field. Deception. One possible reason escaping the inner part of the skyrmion via a rocket is impossible is that the inner part of the skyrmion is actually a two-dimensional surface projected into our dimension as a three-dimensional space. This suggests that there is no third dimension to escape into, only an illusion of depth created by the scalar field. It's akin to trying to step out of a painting that appears three-dimensional but is, in reality, flat. Another possible reason for the impossibility of leaving the inner part of the skyrmion with a rocket is that the inner part is enveloped by a rotating boundary layer of the magnetic field, acting as a barrier or horizon. This implies an enormous amount of energy is required to breach this barrier, which far surpasses the energy a rocket can provide. It's like attempting to escape a black hole, which possesses tremendous gravity, yet in reality, it's a magnetic force. Therefore, we cannot escape the inner part of the skyrmion because there is no third dimension to flee into, just an illusion of depth created by the scalar field. Nor can we escape the outer part of the skyrmion, given the colossal energy required to breach the rotating boundary layer of the magnetic field, serving as a barrier or horizon. Determining how high we can ascend within the inner part of the skyrmion is challenging, as it hinges on how we define and measure height. According to the Folgers Theory, the inner part of the skyrmion is, in fact, a two-dimensional surface projected into our dimension as a three-dimensional space. This implies there is no third dimension to escape into, only an illusion of depth created by the scalar field. It's akin to living within a painting that appears three-dimensional but is, in reality, flat. One potential method to define and measure height is by utilizing gravity, which is induced by the magnetic field of the monopole. The magnetic field's strength diminishes as we move farther away from the monopole, situated at the center of our galaxy. Consequently, gravity also lessens with distance from the monopole, implying greater altitude. Measuring gravity can be accomplished with an accelerometer, gauging the acceleration we feel due to gravity. Another potential approach to define and measure height is by considering curvature, attributed to the magnetic field of the monopole. The magnetic field's curvature intensifies as we draw closer to the monopole, situated at the center of our galaxy. This suggests that space becomes more curved as proximity to the monopole increases, implying lower altitude. Measuring curvature can involve employing a gyroscope, capturing the rotation experience due to curvature. According to some estimates, we cannot ascend beyond approximately 100 kilometers above Earth's surface before reaching the boundary between the inner and outer parts of the skyrmion. The outer part of the skyrmion is essentially a three-dimensional space projected into our dimension as a four-dimensional spacetime. This region is where the black hole exists and is perceived by us as an area characterized by extreme gravity and curvature. To surpass this boundary, an immense amount of energy is required, exceeding the capabilities of a rocket. In conclusion, the journey through de Folger's theory has taken us to the very heart of existence itself, revealing the intricate interplay between the scalar and magnetic fields, skyrmions, monopoles, and even our own consciousness. As we have delved into the depths of this groundbreaking theory, we have unearthed a world of possibilities, a tapestry of connections that bind us to the very fabric of the universe. What once seemed like abstract concepts have transformed into tangible threads weaving through the tapestry of our reality. We've discovered that our experiences, whether through meditation, altered states of consciousness, or even the simplest moments of joy, are not isolated occurrences, but rather reflections of the grand symphony orchestrated by the scalar and magnetic fields. While the pursuit of knowledge is a ceaseless endeavor, de Folger's theory has illuminated a path toward greater understanding, unity, and purpose. It beckons us to not only redefine our perception of reality, but also to reimagine our roles as stewards of this cosmic dance. With newfound awareness, we stand on the precipice of a future where harmony with the scalar and magnetic fields can guide us toward unparalleled discoveries, both within ourselves and within the boundless cosmos. As we bid farewell to this exploration, let us carry forth the wisdom of de Folger's theory as a beacon of inspiration. Together, we embark on a journey to coalesce the realms of science, spirituality, and consciousness, shaping a future where the skyrmions of our imagination intertwine seamlessly with the monopoles of our aspirations. With the boundless potential that lies ahead, we are reminded that, like the intricate dance of skyrmions and monopoles, the tapestry of our universe is woven with the threads of curiosity, wonder, and the unyielding pursuit of truth.